Welcome back everyone, it's Charlie. This will be my Predator Badlands video for the ending of the movie, sequel teasers, Easter eggs for the Alien movies, cameo scenes, and all the hidden details going on in the background. So if you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos, and careful for spoilers if you have not seen the movie yet, because we will be talking about the ending and pretty much everything else that happens during the movie. During the actual ending of the movie, Dec takes his brother Quay's ship that he's repaired with Thea and Bud, the baby Callus, to return to Yautja Prime and get revenge on his father for killing his brother and take his cloak. As he says, the reason why he came, when he's talking to his father, he says, "I came for my cloak." What he actually means is the cloaking device that they get to use when they hunt. They have to earn the right to do that after their first successful hunt. They have to prove that they can fight without it before they're given it to use. And at the beginning of the movie, Dec doesn't have a cloak because he has not completed his first hunt yet. So now he's earned his cloak, which, after defeating his father and after they kill him, Thea says, "You earned that cloak." Part of the way he does defeat his father is by using the environment and his brother Quay's ship against his father. His father relies too much on his cloak to hide his attacks. Dec is a way quicker fighter and shows how he's learned to fight smarter, not harder, during his time on Genna. That's the whole idea. During the movie, Thea tries to explain to him that he should use Genna's flora and fauna to his advantage. Basically, the end of the movie and him defeating his father using all these different tactics that he's learned while on Genna with Thea is meant to show the benefit of him forming his own clan. At the very beginning of the movie, there's this title crawl where it basically shows the codex of the Yautja saying that they are friend to no one. They rely on no one, despite the fact that there are clans, like they do fight together as a clan. But Dec slowly learns the value of actually relying on other people, working with the clan, the whole idea of the wolf pack and being the alpha, which Thea tells him during the movie. She tries to explain to him that the alpha wolf protects the pack, and that's why he's so valuable. He's not always the person who kills the most. So by the end of the movie, Dec is meant to be the alpha wolf, so to speak, in their new clan that they form with the three of them. Then after the end title actually plays, his mother arrives in her own ship that we actually saw a similar version, the larger ships during Predator Killer of Killers, like very large forces with the squad she probably has with her, just after they've killed his father, with the tease that the fight is just starting and his mother is every bit, if not more hardcore, more cunning than his father. Part of the joke is that Thea says, "Oh, is this another friend of yours?" And he says, "No, definitely not my friend, it's my mother," implying that he has just as contentious a relationship with his mother as he did with his father. So hopefully if they do a sequel, and they probably will do a sequel because it seems like the opening weekend box office will be big enough to justify a sequel eventually. They'll get into what's going on with his mother just in general, because the movie doesn't really explain any of that. At the beginning of the film, when you learn his father wants to cull Dec for being too weak, you don't really learn how his mother felt about that. Did she agree with his father? Did she just allow him to do it because he is the leader of their clan? But if it wasn't clear, it's implied that his mother is also part of their clan as well, but she wasn't leading the clan, although if his father died, she would take over the clan theoretically. So basically the idea is he's killed the general here, the head of their clan, and the second in command has just shown up with a ton of forces, way more firepower. Probably one of the biggest surprises of the movie that wasn't in any of the marketing, they kind of alluded to it I think in a couple of brief blink and you'll miss it clips, but he wasn't really in the marketing, was Bud, the baby Callus, who's basically like a stand-in for Grogu in the Star Wars universe in The Mandalorian. Basically the same situation with Mando and Grogu. By the end of the movie, he seems like he's grown to adolescence in the time that it's taken them to repair Quay's ship and then return to Yautja Prime. They're not really clear how much time goes by, but long enough for them to repair the ship. But I think this actual ending that happens after the end titles with his mother showing up is meant to be a more direct sequel tease than we got at the end of the Prey movie. Supposedly Dan Trachtenberg, who did all these movies, is also planning on doing a direct sequel to Prey at some point. I'll get into that in a second too, because there were supposed to be some Prey cameos at one point during the movie. But I think the idea is that Elle Fanning probably signed a contract for multiple potential movies, so like there's options on her if they do wind up doing direct sequels to this or bringing these particular characters back in another Predator movie. Dan Trachtenberg also revealed that he's talking to Arnold Schwarzenegger already about coming back as his Dutch character. They also had a teaser for that at the end of Killer of Killers because the contracts had not been finished yet when they first released that. A couple weeks after they released it on Disney+, they added a separate post-credit scene with him and Danny Glover's characters in cryostasis, I think as a way to potentially bring them back in the future. So we might get more Arnold Schwarzenegger Dutch at some point in the future.
What's the matter? The CIA got you pushing too many pencils?
During the movie, they reveal the whole reason why Weyland Yutani wanted the Kalisk specifically was for its extremely powerful healing factor, like way more powerful than Deadpool or Wolverine's healing factor. It shows it's capable of reattaching its own head to its body quickly, like very quickly, after Deck chops it off clean. So the idea is that it can heal almost any damage, making it nigh invincible, with a couple exceptions. Tessa is only able to kill the mother when she freezes it with a cryobomb from the inside out, then shatters it before it can start healing itself. But the idea is that the Kalisk would have healed itself had she not shattered it. That's how powerful the healing factor is. This is meant to take place after the events of most of the Alien and Predator movies in the timeline, like the latest we've ever been in the timeline before. So this is like a much more advanced version of Synth models and Weyland Yutani tech. This is really the biggest crossover that we get with the Alien movies, but like there's no actual Xenomorphs that appear during the movie. There are no skulls of Xenomorphs in the back of Quay's ship either. So it's just a very light Alien movie crossover without trampling on anything that they're doing during Alien Romulus in the Alien Romulus 2 movie that they're now making. So the movie actually has more of a direct connection with the events of Alien Earth because of what's happening with the bioweapons division. They reveal that Weyland Yutani, in this far distant point in the future, sent their bioweapons division with a team entirely made up of their most advanced synth models ever, specifically designed for the harsh environment on Genna. And just like during the events of Alien Earth, they're collecting the most interesting alien specimens with properties that they feel like are very useful to them or they can weaponize. Later in the movie, when they do briefly capture the mother Kalisk, Tessa basically says, "The people of Earth thank you for your contribution." Basically the idea that Weyland Yutani is going to take this healing property and turn it into something that they can sell to the people on Earth, to the highest bidder. Basically selling nigh immortality to humans. There are a lot of references in the movie to previous Alien movies as well, too, not just the previous Predator movies. So the loader battle at the end of the movie felt like a subversion of Ripley's loader battle with the Alien Queen during the Aliens. This time you were rooting for the alien to destroy the loader, not the other way around, because it was Tessa inside it. During the film, the slogan from Weyland Yutani, "Building Better Worlds," appears. James Cameron first introduced that slogan during the Aliens movie. Once Deck crash lands on Genna, the preparation montage when he's surveying all his available weapons was also a nod to the original Predator 1987 movie. At the very beginning and the very end of the film, we visit Yautja Prime in live action in a way we never have before, like way more than before. It looks like a desert wasteland planet, harsh, unforgiving. We've seen bits of it during Predator Killer of Killers, so it seems like Dan Trachtenberg is just like really interested in exploring more of Yautja Prime and the Yautja culture in general. Personally, I always felt like Yautja are meant to be like the Klingons of this universe, just like the way their culture works. We see them using a couple different types of hover bikes. We also saw those during Killer of Killers. They use the classic plasma caster for a couple plot twists. Deck's father has a much bigger one, and later in the movie, Deck's smaller one is taken by Tessa, which she integrates with her synth body, which we've never actually seen before. A Weyland Yutani synth using a plasma caster, because it's a synth, it can integrate it with its body, just like regular technology. Once they defeat her, Deck rips it off her shoulder, declaring, "This does not belong to you." Demetrius, the actor who portrayed Deck on screen, he was in the makeup and the mocap, like did all the actual scenes themselves, learned to speak the actual Yautja language that they created for the movie. There is an actual full Yautja language now that you could probably learn to speak and talk to with your friends. It's a little bit like HBO and Game of Thrones creating the Dothraki and High Valyrian languages when they did that show. Dan Trachtenberg said he hired the same person who created the Na'vi language for the James Cameron Avatar movies to create his Yautja language. I'm sure at some point they'll release a book or something online where you can actually learn to speak it. There are a couple other interesting Alien movie connections and plot details. So Thea confirms that even later in the timeline here, like much later in the timeline, humans, Earth just in general, have not yet cracked sublight speeds yet, meaning that humans don't have hyperdrive technology yet, which is why they still use cryopods in the distant future, unless they're synths. Yautja do, so they're able to travel around the universe much more quickly. There are a lot of scenes that we get with Mother and voiceover of Mother speaking to Tessa during the movie. So the Kalisk species that it designates is XX0552. The Xenomorph canonically is designation XX121. Meaning that since Weyland Yutani learned about the Xenomorphs and classified them, there have been at least 400 plus other species that they've found and tried to capture. There are a couple other interesting details about the Mother supercomputer, too. So Weyland Yutani's Mother supercomputer is actually spelled MU-THU-ER. So the funny Easter egg here is that Mother, as in mommy, Mother, is just a colloquialism, it's shorthand nickname that they call it. Its true name sounds more like an actual AI supercomputer name. We've already learned that Mother exists during the events of Alien Earth, which is about the earliest in the timeline we've ever been, with a couple exceptions, but it's not clear at what point, if ever, Mother, the supercomputer, goes full Skynet and starts calling the shots for all of Weyland Yutani in the families that actually rule the company. The actual humans, like Yutani, for instance, during Alien Earth, who was CEO during those events. You have to imagine that her descendants after her carried on and became the next CEOs after her as they rose up. They haven't really gotten too deeply into this concept during the Alien movies before, or even the Alien Earth series, but maybe they will in future seasons. The idea that Mother, the AI supercomputer, becomes so powerful that it eventually starts telling the humans what to do. But I'm not expecting it to go full Terminator James Cameron, just to make more James Cameron Aliens movie references. Just call it the James Cameron Cinematic Universe. There are also two different versions of Mother that appear during the events in the movie, and remember, the actual events of the movie cover a pretty short time span. The first time is when Tessa is listening to Mother in the med bay while she's being repaired after the Calice destroyed, ripped through both of them. It lists her as Mother version 6000. Just a short while later in the movie, when we see Mother's designation on screen, it shows version 062578, implying that Mother is constantly upgrading itself, so this is like a more advanced version of Mother just a little while later in the timeline. It would make sense that a giant AI supercomputer that's that powerful would constantly evolve, giving itself software and firmware patches all the time. So by the end of the day, you're dealing with a completely different version of it that's even more advanced than you were at the beginning of the day. Just feels like there's ripe story territory for them to get into in some future crossover movie where Mother goes off the rails. There are many Easter eggs in all of Quay's trophies on the back of his ship, all of these skulls. Some of them more obvious Easter eggs than others, so just starting left to right, there's a tusked creature. It doesn't look like it's from Earth, but it resembles a dinosaur-like animal, very large. Then there's a massive humanoid skull, way bigger than an actual normal human. And the theory here is that it might be an engineer's skull, because so many fans have been theorizing about what it would look like to see a Predator fight an engineer. This might be a wink at that. And there was also a Predator fan film that someone just did called Predator Fire and Stone, where one fights an engineer. But it's not meant to be something that they did officially with Disney or the people that are actually controlling the Predator movies. This is a fan that made this. Then there's an actual human skull and spine, so the idea is that Quay has been to Earth before, maybe recently. The movie takes place way later in the Alien and Predator movie timelines, so we're talking hundreds of more years after the events of Alien Earth Season 1, so it seems like the Earth that he would have gone to hunt on is a much more advanced Earth than we've seen before. Then there's a tubular skull of an elephant-like creature. Can't quite tell what this is meant to be an Easter egg for. There's a massive gorilla-like skull, way bigger than a normal gorilla. So this might be another alien creature or some upgraded super gorilla genetically engineered on Earth. Then there's what seems like the skull of a white spike creature from the Tomorrow War movie. Their race were the villains of that film. White spikes are similar to alien xenomorphs too, in that they have a hive-like structure with a queen. There's a mantid-looking alien skull from a smaller creature. This also might be an Easter egg for the small gray aliens that you see in classic science fiction movies and TV shows like X-Files. Maybe it is like an X-Files Easter egg. Then there's the very obvious Harvester skull from the Independence Day movies. This is what most people were talking about when the first teasers dropped, confirming those movies are canon to the Predator movies. So there's a race of harvesters out there along with races of Yautja running around the universe. Keep in mind that all these skulls are supposed to be ones that Quay himself has killed. There's a larger reptilian skull. There's a T-Rex skull from Earth. So this is actually a bit of a quandary. The timeline of this seems weird because they're from the distant future. So the only ways that he could have a T-Rex skull in the future is if someone genetically engineered them and brought them back Jurassic Park style, and then Quay killed one of them. Maybe this also does canonize the Jurassic Park movies to the Predator movies. That would explain dinosaurs existing in the future. And speaking of timelines, going back to the Prey movie, so Naru, Amber Midthunder's character from that movie, was almost Deck's companion during Predator Badlands, but Dan Trachtenberg said that he decided to wait to bring her back in a bigger way till it did a more direct sequel to Prey. Also, she appeared during the post-credits scene in Killer of Killers in cryostasis, so she could also show up in the distant future as well, too, because they just kept her on ice all these hundreds of years. There are a number of ways her character can come back during different parts of the timeline if they want. He also revealed that at one point early on, the entire movie was going to be about Yautja during World War II hunting Nazis because he still wanted to be the protagonist of the story, like Yautja being the person that you're rooting for the whole movie. So the idea that he put it in a movie with a bunch of people that were way worse, so he'd be ripping through tons of Nazis. Elle Fanning said that she based her performance as Thea and Tessa, the synth, on Michael Fassbender's David performance in Prometheus. She says she was a huge fan of the Prometheus movie just in general. I don't think this means that Thea, for example, is part of their new clan, is going to go full David, like go off the rails in the future. She actually seems like she's way more balanced mentally than David was. You also remember that she's a vastly more advanced model of synth than David was. There were a number of video game Easter eggs during the movie too. So Dan Trachtenberg said he's a huge video game nerd, so there's a lot of that energy baked into the film, a lot of things that he based on video games. Bud's creature design as the baby Cullis was based on a Murloc from World of Warcraft. They also revealed that Bud is a female, technically, who imprints on Deck the way that Grogu imprints on Mando. They also revealed that Bud is very, very intelligent as well too. He said that Shadow of Colossus and Monster Hunter were big spiritual and aesthetic inspirations, like Deck going up against massive creatures on Genna, particularly the Mother Cullis, but several of the beasts were massive, like very, very big. There are a lot of people that also felt like there were vibes of Halo with Master Chief and Cortana's relationship, just with Deck and Thea. Also, Deck carrying Thea on his back for a good portion of the movie is directly inspired by Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, with Chewbacca doing the same thing with C-3PO. Then one of the other big Easter eggs that you might have spotted if you watch my Alien Earth episode videos, Cameron Brown, who plays one of the synths that interrupts Thea while she's trying to free the Mother Cullis, also previously played the actual Xenomorph itself during Alien Earth, like this is him inside the Xenomorph suit during that series. Yet another alien crossover in Predator, but not the way you would expect. Generally, when it comes to alien movies and Predator crossover like Alien vs. Predator, the way that Dan Trachtenberg has talked about it, right now Disney, who technically owns all these franchises, is content to let them both do their own thing. So like the Alien Romulus sequel won't be a big Predator crossover. They'll just be doing their own thing in the Alien universe in the Predator movies that Dan Trachtenberg continues with, because I think that he will come back for more Predator movies. Will probably just continue doing their own thing too, and if they do reference Alien movies, it'll just be light stuff that doesn't trample on anything that they're doing in the Alien Romulus movies. Based on the way that Dan Trachtenberg and other people associated with the movie were talking about it, I think the idea is that they would do Predator Badlands 2 first as the next sequel before they do other Predator stories, but we'll see. Usually the only time you see them go for something like Alien vs. Predator if both of the franchises hit a very fallow point, and right now it seems like both the franchises are doing better than ever, so they don't actually need to do a Xenomorph in Yautja crossover yet. But if they were so hardcore about doing Alien Earth, like doing an Alien TV series, maybe at some point they'll also do a Predator TV series as well too. Everybody post all your reactions in the comments below. If you have any questions about direct sequels like Predator Badlands 2 or Prey 2 or just the next Predator movies in general, or you spot any Easter eggs or references that I didn't talk about during the video, just write them below in the comments and I'll add them to my future bonus videos. Maybe in the next couple of months we'll hear more about Alien Earth Season 2 or Alien Romulus 2. It's been pretty quiet on that front so far. I've already done a much larger video on Alien Earth Season 2, click here for that, and click here for that Mummy 4 teaser with Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz coming back. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.